Hi everyone, this is Ben Colby again, Teen Librarian, Pratt Library. This is the intermediate level video for creating a 3D mold for a candle. I did make one mistake that I want to correct from the last part. I was just taking some measurements of the test candles we've done, and I need to shrink this a little bit. So I'm holding the shift key. I want the inside, instead of being 65 millimeters like we had it, it needs to be closer to 50. So if I take the outside and bring it to the 70 range, that'll work. And then also, I do want the height to still be about 3 inches or 75 millimeters. So I'm going to take this and just stretch it straight up. And I don't hold the shift key this time. Okay, so what are the intermediate things that we're going to do? Let me show you first about how to cut a polygon pattern out of the outside. So I just dragged this blue polygon shape over. Let's say I want a bunch of sides. You already have kind of a panel pattern here, depending on the settings of your original cylinder that you used. But I've got 10 sides here, and that's fine. I could bevel the edges if I want to. Let's just leave it like that. So I'm going to drag the outside holding the shift key until I have it about right. Let me just put it right in the middle there so I can kind of get it right. Till I get it matched. A little bit more. I want this to be cutting just out of the outside, and I'm going to go ahead and change it to a hole. So it's not centered. All right, so that's just a little too large because the shadow, you can see the shadow there, it's cutting out just a little too much. So I'm going to shrink it and then recenter it. Still too much. I'm going to shrink it just a little more and recenter it. See if I can get it to look like lines, if I get it perfectly centered. Oh, right, because I need to just make it a little bigger now. And right, because I want that. Oh, here we go. That looks pretty good. Pretty good. All right. So now I take this shape. I'm going to lift it off the ground a little bit because I don't want to cut out the bottom like that. I want the bottom that we have to still be there. And then I'm going to stretch this shape up, and it can actually go above the top. And I can just glance at it and see what that will do to the shape. That looks pretty cool. And I want to make sure that I have it roughly centered so that the center point of this whole shape is lining up perfectly with the edge of the mold. That's great. That took longer than I expected, but it does look great. So I'm going to go ahead and group it. It cuts out a pattern from the outside. Now I have a cool little pattern on the outside. I am going to keep that, and I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to export an STL, and I'm going to make a duplicate and throw the duplicate over here because I want to make something different. I'm going to ungroup this now. Get rid of this. I want to show you two ways to put words on this. Okay. Dragging text over. And first, I think we always want to just pick to type in the text that we want. Love you, Grandma. And it's obviously much too large, but that's okay. And then you can pick a font that you like. This one's fine. So I need to cut this down very much. So let's see. We said I want this to be going down the side or up the side, either way. And it's a 75 millimeter thing. So let's go a little, 75 millimeters tall. So we need to go a little smaller than that. Oh my, this is tough. Let me hit the F key to zoom in, and maybe I can do it that way. Okay, and then hit F to zoom in. And now I'm doing better. Great. A little less than that still. And I'm holding the shift key to avoid this, to avoid warping the shape. 5 millimeters tall. I'm just going to stretch that to give it a little bit more definition. we would really want our letters to be at least 6 or 7 millimeters. Okay, and I'm now gonna flip this, and oh yeah, sometimes you have to rotate something to get all your stuff to show up. Great. I'm going to drag it till it's roughly overlapping with the side. I'm going to lift it off the ground, see how I'm doing. Hit the F key to zoom in one more time. It's not touching yet. It's very important that we look all around with the camera. It's okay. Yeah, so we only want this to be sticking out just a little tiny bit. And the reason I put it along this face is because you have to imagine when you're removing the mold, you don't want to split the candle apart. It's going to hang on to all the details. So when you're pulling the camera out directly this way, it's going to work a little better if your words aren't hanging on to the sides, if that makes any sense. So let's think if this would actually create the correct orientation of the letters. I guess so, yeah, because it would start at the top and I'd be looking at it from this way. Right. It's very easy to get this backwards, but I think we've got it like this. So that would be a pretty good gift to give with a little bit of text going down the side. It can only stick out a tiny bit. You could also cut out a hole by a tiny bit. All right, so don't forget to group that. You don't want to export it without including the detail. Great, so I've just shown you two things in this intermediate level video, and that is how to cut out a polygon and how to add some text to the side like that. And next we'll do some slightly more advanced options.